Hi there, I'm Buddha and welcome to another vlog. I decided to do some of these vlogs with my iPhone, so no post-production, no fancy things, no editing, just to let you in on the backstage, on the behind the scenes stuff, and to share with my dear viewers some ideas and some thoughts that occurred to me on my daily life, and to share with you my day and my work. So I'm recording on my Wise. It's third day of recording session, and it occurred to me that I always have this conversation with a new band. Whenever I record a band for the first time, I always have to convince them that they sound better playing all together than recording track by track, one at a time. And it's really hard for me to understand why the musicians think that is the way, because it makes no sense. In this case, this band is recording their second album, so it's their second time in the studio. So they have barely, almost no experience being in the studio, so they are not very experienced musicians in the studio, but they have rehearsed a million times together and played a million times together. So they probably know what they're doing together, right? And it's funny when people worry about but won't there be bleed? So by bleed meaning, isn't that a problem that, for example, this is the vocal mic here. Isn't that a problem that this mic is capturing all the band because the drums are over there and keyboards are playing here? And this mic is also listening to the keyboards and the drums. Or isn't the drums coming into the mic on the guitar amp? Yes, they are. But the thing I always ask is, are you wishing to make a record with solo tracks, like just listening to the vocals? I don't think so. So if we're listening to it all together, what does it matter for the vocal mic to have band in here? You will have band in the song. So the only thing that matters, and that's probably the misconception, is that if the bleed ruins the sound of the other instruments. So the only thing we need to worry is to get a good bleed, not a bad bleed. Meaning, if the snare sounds terrible in this vocal mic and this bleed is ruining the snare sound or the drum sound or the piano sound, that's probably a problem. But it's a problem for me, not for the band, because I'm mixing it, so I will have to solve it, or for whoever will mix the record. And the trick is to get the mics with the rejection angle towards the drums. So for example, this mic has a rejection angle on the back, so it doesn't hear a lot on the back. Let me show you. Let me flip the camera. Mike is looking back to the drums. He's facing back to the drums. So it's hearing the less amount of drums possible. And the bleed on this mic is just really, really great. This mic has a really beautiful bleed. For example, we're recording a VST Hammond using my SISM, my rotary speaker, and we're recording it with this T-Bone mic. It's a really inexpensive mic, but I'm really loving it. And a ribbon mic is figure of 8, so it captures on the front and on the back, and has huge rejection on the sides. So I'm facing the side of the mic towards the drum, so it doesn't get any direct drum sound. It gets a reflection, and it sounds really cool. It's a room mic for the drums, but it's also a Leslie mic. This mic, on the other hand, is a ribbon mic that I'm using for a room mic. So I'm wanting to get room sounds out of this mic. That's its job. And it's facing sideways to the Leslie. So I'm rejecting the Leslie sound because it's so close, and I'm pointing it to the drums. If I was just recording the drums, I would put it this way, because I would want to reject the direct sound of the drums coming from that way and just capture the reflections, so it would sound roomier. But since I have to reject on one side, I have to reject the Leslie, and on the other side, I have to reject the bass that is coming from here. So the mic is side facing both the Leslie and the bass amp and also the guitar cabinet. So it's rejecting all that I don't want to get. And that's a simple way of using the mics to my advantage and the mic pattern to my advantage to create a good sounding stage for the band. They are not using headphones, which means they are playing as they are used to play. They don't use headphones. We don't have monitors, except for the singer, because he's singing and we're giving him some vocal monitoring so he can sing it. And he's singing along with the band, and we're getting really cool performances. I always tell the singer, let's just record a guide vocal, and just for you to practice and for the band to be in tune with the song, for me to listen to the song for the first time with vocals, because then I can judge the arrangement. But usually we end up keeping the guide vocal because it sounds really really exciting too, really way more intense because the guy is singing with the band and is giving it all. So it's usually a better performance. But then the bleed that all the mics get, it's what gels, what glues the band together, because a direct sound sounds really terrible. So if you isolate any of the drum mics, like the kick drum mic or the tom mic or the snare mic, it sounds barely anything like a snare mic or like a snare or like a tom. It sounds like a snare mic. The thing that gives it the cool drum sound is the overheads to me, and I'm using my Biodynamic M130s that I'm really loving. So this two mics on top of the drums, and this is my big picture of the drums. Then I'm using some punctual mics like the Sennheiser's E604, the Audix i5 on the snare, over there on that tom, another Sennheiser, and I'm using some goofy mics. I'm using my over-the-kick mic. I always use an over-the-kick mic. This time I'm testing the Green Bullet. It's a lo-fi mic going into the GHS collar box. The Green Bullet is going to this GHS, and then to this GHS is going another mic I did. You can see the cable is really crappy. I built a mic out of a 5.1 surround system I had laying around at home. So this speaker, it was transformed into a mic, and it's giving me a punchy kick, drum, and snare sound. Bleed is your friend. We're talking about recording a musical performance and recording music, not science. So it needs to feel and sound as a musical performance. Because when we're mixing the recording, we will need to make it sound as if it was played all together, because that's how we like music. It's played together. They are playing at the same time. So why record everything separate if at the end you will be joining it all? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like recording a drum piece by piece and then trying to fit it. That's why it sounds plastic. That's why VSTs don't sound as organic as a drummer or as a keyboard, because they miss the imperfections, they miss the room, they miss all the things. So for example, to make the VST sound a little more analog, in this band they are using a laptop and using a VST Hammond plugin. So to make it sound a little more organic, we're plugging it into my Leslie, and it's going into my signature ram tone pedals overdrive, that it's giving it a little of that drive that usually an analog Hammond has, because it's tube oriented and it goes to a tube Leslie. Mine is not, is neither a Leslie, neither tube. It's a SISM, a rotary speaker from Italy from the 70s. But it has a cool character and it spins, which is really great. But the overdrive pedal is giving it that dirt, that growl that Hammonds usually have. And we are used to hear it that way. So don't be afraid to record with bleed. Just think about the music and think about a good arrangement and playing it right, because it's way better for music. Bleed is our friends. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next vlog.